Welcome to In Good Company, the podcast where each week we talk to good people doing great things and we celebrate the beauty of connection by word of mouth. At the end of each episode, our guests will pass the mic to someone in their circle, welcoming you into this growing web of friends of friends. On today's episode, we're joined by a dear friend of mine, Amanda Gloria Valdes. She's a wellness advocate, a doula, and building something to support her community and beyond. I'm your host, Davinia Roberts, and if you're here, you're in good company.
She's ready.
It's happening. Amanda, thanks for being here. It's the first episode. I am so grateful that you would be open to doing this.
And you came all this way
I know.
back home in Brooklyn.
No. So we're in Brooklyn Flow Studios recording this first episode. It's a vibe in here. Are you teaching at the studio now?
Yes, every Thursday at 9 a.m. I've Vinyasa Flow. And then you'll see me on other parts of the schedule, like prenatal, their strength classes, restorative, all those things.
Nice. And that maybe we should tell people how we met.
hmm
Do you want to tell people how we met?
Yeah. Back in the day, we were both at this amazing yoga studio called Laughing Lotus in New York City and Brooklyn. And we crossed paths there. It's been history since.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to remember when I started at Laughing Lotus, but I still have you in my phone as Amanda Valdez CrossFit Yogi because I feel like
You were at the class.
yeah, I don't know how I ended up at that class, but I think that's when I first met you. We were teaching
Like a little yoga pop-up.
yeah, exactly. I was like, who is this person? That's just how it is sometimes. Sometimes you meet people and you just feel like that's a person that I want to have in my little circle. So now where else are you teaching?
So I am at YoBK. You can find me on Mondays at 5 p.m. for Mat Pilates. You can find me here at Brooklyn Flow on Thursdays. Heel House will be opening in the spring for 2026. You'll see me there on Wednesdays.
Nice.
I'm also on faculty at New York University. We have a whole yoga department within Global Spiritual Life. So you can find me there. Another studio called Rise Room, which one of my grads actually owns it. I feel like that's all the studios. And then, of course, my own.
It's kind of crazy to think about where you started doing a yoga pop-up at a gym. Like wasn't it just like a regular gym, like a
At
CrossFit?
Brick
Yes.
CrossFit.
Yes.
So I started a whole yoga program there.
Yeah. That's kind of been a little bit of your path too, but maybe for people just in general to understand how do you move from doing pop-ups at an actual gym space to where you are now and like a little bit of that journey.
That's a great question. I started teaching in 2012. I'm a career actor before that and still now, it has an ebb and flow. And from there, the landscape of yoga studios and opportunities, especially for people of color, was a very different vibration here in New York City and all around. Really forging a path. So a big part of the work that I did was reimagining how spaces are used.
Yeah.
So right in the beginning of my journey, it was very challenging to even get on a schedule. So that might look like being on a community class schedule. So essentially, people are doing donations, and then those donations go to whatever philanthropy that studio is working with. Back in the day, I created a yoga program. I feel like it was another gym space in Union Square. Then after that, I was doing a mentorship and like still exploring different ways I can share my offering. And then in Lower East Side, there was a place called ABC Sanctuary, which I feel like it was adjacent to the Alphabet City Garden, which I feel like recently they were trying to make sure it didn't close because, these beautiful spaces are city or state funded. And of course, there's always another luxury building that wants to pop up and take over it and buy the space. And that sanctuary space was my first like alliteration of AV Studios workshops. And this was like in 2013, like super early in my yoga career. And then, time has went on. So I would always explore, okay, we have this space, whether it's a gym, whether it's a laundromat, whether it's, I don't know, a park, a school, thinking about, okay, yoga could be anywhere. It's not just necessarily in a studio.
I do think that there is a little bit of a misconception that yoga needs to take place in a studio. And sometimes studios aren't accessible to people. So I love hearing just how you've taken it. And anywhere that there's people,
Mhm.
Let's give them yoga. We taught together at the 100 Coalition of Black Women. It
Mm.
was like the young
So
kids. Do you do a lot of work with young people anymore? Are you mostly focused on adults and women? Because I know that you're a doula as well.
well, my work, it really spans many different avenues and different populations that I serve. So, a big part of my career was, yes, an actor, but also an educator through weaving storytelling in ways to enliven community, whether it's for the health sector, whether it was for literacy in schools. So I was at City University for a long time, this department called Creative Arts Team. And essentially my role was technically called actor teacher, but essentially I was a playwright, a director, a literacy educator,
Yeah.
and a program manager in conjunction with assisting the executive director in like getting grants, in putting programs out into schools to help students connect to reading, connecting to literacy. So that was part of my work. And the kids could be anywhere from 3 years old all the way up to like prep for college. Right now, in terms of young folks, I'm helping babies come into the world as a full spectrum doula. So I do, help
Yeah, maybe for
folks.
people that don't know what a
Mhm.
full spectrum doula
Mhm.
is, can you define that?
Yeah. So in 2020, as we all know, there was a pandemic. So that was essentially the full shutdown of the world we know, but also in the well being spaces. So again, we were very attached to having yoga spaces like as a place where practice classes and stuff like that. Digital wellness wasn't really where it is now. And in terms of really thinking about where I was going to go, essentially where I was in my yoga career at that time, I thought it was like the height of my yoga career, but it really wasn't. I was
Mm,
just like just the beginning.
yeah.
I was like, oh wow, literally lost my apartment, lost my job, lost everything. So I was like, okay, what am I going to do? So I was really seeking, really diving deep through meditation, through chanting, through prayer. And then it came to me, I was always supporting the maternal health space through prenatal yoga up to that point, but I didn't really have the time, resources, or even know about full spectrum doula work. So full spectrum doula is a care provider that provides education, physical, emotional support. In my realms, I also integrate movement, perinatal movement. So in the realms of yoga, Pilates, standing, literacy, and preparation for what I call ceremony, whether it's like womb wellness. A lot of folks, especially, I would say, young individuals, Gen Z, to millennials, all the way up to menopausal age at this time.
Wow.
A lot of issues with the womb, whether it's fibroids, endometriosis, hormone imbalance. So I was like, wow, I'm seeing this in my communities. What can I do? So that's like a big part of the work. I trained with Sumaya Franklin. Shout out to Sumi's Touch. During pandemic, it was
Samaya is based in New York?
no.
No.
She's
Okay.
based in Oakland, California, and then she lives in Merida,
Oh,
in Mexico.
oh, beautiful. I've been there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Wow.
beautiful, beautiful. Black population really re-enlivening and reimagining what life can look like
Mhm,
beyond the
mhm.
US. So I got to study with her a long period of time for full spectrum doula work. So that's a womb wellness, body literacy, all the way to birth support, which could look like actually attending a birth, preparing someone for that, lactation or feeding, and then into what postpartum looks like. So the care, the body work, all of that. And then even in the space of grief support, because as we know, life and birth and has many different outcomes. So really being able to hold space as also a grief doula or a death doula.
Yeah. If we think about the trajectory
Mhm.
of the work that you've done, starting in gyms, you were an actor,
Mhm.
actress in education, and now like all of these are converging. And did you ever have a time where you had just like a pinpointed focus, or were you always kind of open to having just like a little bit of a winding?
I think at times it was very like focused. I would say, especially in the acting realms, when you're like in that audition
Mm,
circuit, when you're trying to get an agent, when you're doing what we would call workshop auditioning, things like that. And I did that right up to pandemic, and I did get an agent. I was like in the pocket, but still the yoga space and well-being space pulled me more, and I felt like I got more success and things flowed a little bit better. Not that the acting will go away, but
yeah.
maybe I storytell about some of the work I'm doing, whether it's like I write a play about it
Yeah.
or partner with other creatives.
I feel like that's such an important thing to share with
Mhm.
people because externally it looks like sometimes people just knew what my path was and I just did that. I just knew that I was going to be a yoga teacher, knew that I was going to be in wellness, and I just stayed on that path. But really, it's about how do you just use your tools that you have and like allow things to show up as they do. You are very particular about who you take trainings from, especially something like the yoga tradition. I'm curious if you could tell people about who you're going to learn from and how, you're going to carry that information forward.
Yes. Well, I think any sacred knowledge that we are learning to understand, okay, is the training that I'm taking, is it uplifting the roots of it? Whether it's birth work, whether it's yoga philosophy, yoga asana, and uh, it's an interesting space, right? Because you're investing in yourself, but also you want to invest in your community from the space of the truth. I think in terms of my own yoga teacher training and education, I never stop learning. I'm always in another space to fill the cup because I am also a teacher trainer. So that's like pretty much 90% of the work that I do
Yeah.
or have been doing in the last, I would say 8 years.
Tell people about the teacher training because you've developed like a system and you do have graduates out in the world. So tell people maybe a little bit about that.
Yes. So in 2020, like I said, everything stopped. So I had a great time to pause and learn from a great teacher. So sometimes the learning comes from like a different avenue, like seems sideways. But being in Sumaya's training, I was like, wow, this is a level of facilitation that I've never seen before in terms of like going to the depths. Like when you're doing a doula trainings, depending what you're doing and who you're learning it from. Mine was a very specific training. It was an all black cohort was her
Beautiful.
first all black cohort. When I say all black, so the diaspora, people from all around the world, not just one lens.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have black people everywhere.
Yes. Yes, we do.
Everywhere. So that really wove together the indigenous lens of even within that, what does that look like? And really understanding the history of GYN care, midwifery care in the world, some of the dark history to the bright history to the reimagined to re-indigenize history and future, which also awakened my eyes because a big work of that I do is reimagine curriculum. And that gave me a lot of inspiration and fuel to, especially in these turbulent times, which we thought it was turbulent between 2020 to 2025
Right.
about social equity and justice through the well-being space. And it like seeps in every aspect, not just the yoga space or wellness space, the maternal care space. So that really fueled me and helped me refine my voice in that.
Yeah.
And essentially, in the last 5 years, I reimagined a teacher training for a very big yoga brand and essentially was director for that and wrote curriculum and programming and essentially graduated almost 650 people in the last 5 years. Yeah.
I didn't know that was the number.
Yeah, maybe more.
Amazing.
So for 200-hour registered yoga teacher trainings plus other continuing ed, unfortunately, my contract and job ended at the end of 2025. So that program stopped. And then my team and I were laid off. But as an educator and a dream maker and a change maker, we don't stop because the work is living within us. So essentially, I have taken everything that I've done and reimagined it again and have written a new program, AV Studios. So that's my umbrella brand, which I officially opened in 2020, I would say, when I was a talent on Melissa Wood Health. And it's an umbrella. So wellness, content creation, yoga teacher training, retreats, full spectrum doula work, it all lives there. And this will be our first training that I'll be leading in the 200-hour. But I also, this past weekend, kicked off a perinatal movement training for birth workers and doulas in conjunction and partnership with Caribbean Women's Health. We got a grant to send a free training for birth workers that are really on the front lines here in New York City, helping families and individuals all across the board from HIV care in terms of awareness and prevention to maternal care to doula services, lactation, and even supporting incarcerated women that are on the path.
I didn't know that you were doing that now.
Yeah. So that was one of the great wins at the beginning of 2026. So that's like a 3-part course. And then the 200-hour will start in February.
First, congratulations on the grant and continuing to be able to provide like support to people across many different groupings. I'm curious, what does it look like with a doula and how a doula works with actual hospital care? Because I don't have the statistics, but for Black and brown people, there's a higher mortality rate in births of babies
Mhm,
because we've heard it before. Sometimes hospitals don't believe Black women.
mhm,
And so, what is that relationship like
mhm,
between you, the patient, and hospital?
mhm.
Is it separate or is it in combination?
Well, there's many different sectors of how birth workers work. We are not necessarily a healthcare provider, but we're education provider, emotional support, physical support. But it's an interesting space right now, especially in the US, where we're like creating this messaging that the doulas are going to save everything. But from the lens that I'm learning from or have learned from,
Mhm.
really midwives and the grand midwives, which really come from the African American tradition and
Mhm.
diaspora here, really forged the way of traditional care, community care, sovereign care for birthing individuals and families. And as things went on in the history of maternal care in this United States, this systemic racism, essentially discrediting the
Mhm.
beautiful grand midwives that really paved the way, and essentially blanketing them, whether it was like witchcraft or dirty
Mhm.
or uneducated, and then essentially put all of the centering on that OBGYNs will do the better care and things like
Mhm.
that. And I don't want to discredit the beautiful work of medical providers
Sure.
because we
Yeah.
do need that, but they do different things. Everyone functions in different ways. So right now, and within even New York City, how many birth centers do we have? So a birth center is a facility that usually is run by midwives, and sometimes an overseeing OBGYN. So a birth center and or a home birth is great for a low risk individual family to give birth in. Again, really that sovereign care. And we only have one, but I had a beautiful opportunity. Well, my first birth I ever attended was at a birth center here in New York City. I just like threw myself. Here we go. So it
Oh.
was a great opportunity to see how that functions. And we do know, depending on what kind of health coverage people have or what resources folks have, everything is essentially tied to folks' jobs, right?
Mhm.
So even a person like me, so I just lost my full-time job at the end of 2025, so that's immediately all of your healthcare, all of the setup in terms of care
Yeah, they
providing is
disappear.
it's gone. So imagine so many other New Yorkers and folks all over the United States that are experiencing this at many different levels, for many different ways that we can really get into. So in terms of like a birth, a full spectrum doula, what are we doing? How I work? I'm a sovereign doula, so I'm not necessarily working under a certain model or a certain pathway. Essentially, folks find me usually through the well-being space. Whether they find me on the internet and they took my class, or an actual studio space, or word of mouth. So essentially, how I work, I'm working for the birth family,
Okay.
individual. So to champion what their birth preferences in terms
Mhm.
of bringing in baby in ceremony, but also birthing themselves in this new pathway with all of the resources. So, like demystifying what's actually happening in terms of their choices. Where do they want to give birth? Is their provider listening to them? I'm essentially the middle person in between. They're seeing me probably the most, more than their care provider, depending. Every doula, every birth worker works different. I work from the traditional lens. So we're not just doing like 3 visits and then like, peace out, I'm done.
With them
Yeah,
through the
the whole
process.
process. And I really encourage people to bring on your doula earlier so then you can get more out of it. Right. So whether you
Right.
bring me on at 28 weeks, the price is not going to change from the beginning. So might as well use the services
Right.
throughout instead of trying to condense it. But I know everyone has a different path.
That really makes sense. If you're together longer, you learn
Hmm.
more about each
Yeah.
other. You can witness how the body is shifting and
Hmm.
shaping and what's going on hormonally, emotionally. It's a foreign body in your
Hmm.
body. How do you like reconnect with yourself in that way? It's such a beautiful thing to have a support outside of your family to
Hmm.
do that. I know family support is really helpful, but I think same thing about therapy. Sometimes nice to have somebody who's not connected to the family to have another
Open
perspective.
eye.
Yeah. And so how long have you been doing this now?
Okay,
You
let's
said
see.
between.
So 2012, I began yoga teacher training as
Yeah.
like a student and a teacher. And then I really had affinity to the birth space. So I was a prenatal yoga teacher like right away, right after that. And then did deeper studies within that.
Mhm.
And then fully trained as a doula in 2020, and now we're in
Okay.
2026. And then really developing how do I offer care? So it's different than a lot of other maybe birth workers. I'm incorporating yoga, understanding body literacy through Ayurveda, which is the sibling science of yoga, what's
Yes.
actually happening in the body
Yeah.
from the traditional lens as well of birth work, and then understanding and demystifying where folks might give birth, right? So I think what I've heard a lot when people would have like discovery calls with me, they're like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready to rough it. They think like,
Oh, they think that you're like, no,
know
no
this,
drugs, no this, no
but I'm
that.
I'm here to listen and support
Yeah.
and then help you get the care that you're really seeking. So I work in tandem with their care provider once we do get there, but I don't work for their provider.
Right.
So sometimes that might be amplifying their voice, becoming second eyes in the space,
Hmm.
and more, and really supporting the birth, whether it's virtually in person, really prepping them up to it.
It's such a beautiful offering. What was one really surprising thing about your first birth? And like, I can't imagine. I've never seen a baby being born.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I
Everyone
mean,
should
our
try.
body. I think that about yoga too.
I'm
I
like,
feel
go
like
go throw
everyone
yourself.
should do a yoga teacher training. You learn a ton about
Mhm.
yourself, but I can't imagine witnessing a baby being born and
Yeah.
that process.
I think
What's a
it's
core memory
I
for?
think it's full circle, right? Because we were all born
I
and people don't
know.
think about that. We just like bop around and just
Yeah.
think we just arrived. I think was, I mean, to keep it real, I was kind of shocked of like, oh, like you're just like here doing it and
Yeah.
kind of like thrown to the wolves. I was
You're
like,
just
oh
doing
wow,
it.
we're just here.
Your body is like,
So you have to
let's go.
you have to tap
Ready.
into your like intuition. No training is going to prepare you honestly for what's actually going to be in the room because it's never
As
a
like a
cookie cutter.
witness. You're
Yeah.
saying like witnessing. Okay.
Because it's like, okay, what are we doing? I'm gonna support her here. It was like also a water birth
Oh,
and like
wow.
comforting somebody through
Mm.
all of the waves of sensations and things because you don't really know what birth is gonna be like. Even if I've seen a bunch and got all the training, everyone's gonna react differently to it.
Sure.
And it was just amazing to see her strength and her to go through all the waves. And like to me, go through the most extremes, the extreme, and then be like, wow, that was amazing. I want to do it again. I was like, wow, girl. I'm like, something snaps inside.
Literally, I have used that same
I'm like,
exact example. Our body is magical. The fact that, first of all, you're building a human in your body, you're holding it, protecting it. Then you go through like,
the most intense thing
this,
of your life.
yeah, a spectrum of pain. Some people have a birth and it's fine, but you're going through this birth and then your body and your brain decide to connect and be like, we should do that again.
Yeah, she loved it.
I know. It's like, oh my
So I
gosh, it's
think
incredible.
just witnessing her really channel and lock into all of the things we talked about. She's also a yogi. So like a lot of the work that we did up to it
Yeah.
really like paid off in terms of really understanding your body, understanding what's actually happening within it, and then charging through. Because
Yeah.
unfortunately, even though people sometimes think this, maybe not overtly say it, they think that their birth provider or their doula is going to save them, but it's really you having this autonomous birth. And we're here to be a witness and support and hold the energy, not like carry you down and through.
Right. Right.
We're going to
It's
give
still
you the
you.
tools and then you're going to unlock that wisdom and cross that threshold.
Same.
But it was beautiful. I'm like, oh, wow. But also very hands on. So I'm like up in the midwives. Nobody's training you for this. You're like, okay, cool. And then like being in a pool. And then like, okay, after a birth, then it's like blood in the pool and we're
Yeah.
sitting with this. It does not affect you. You're
Yeah.
just there. And then the beautiful baby, we're just like holding it. A birth center is like not so much like interventions. You're just like the natural process with it. I brought a
Amazing.
sound bowl. I was doing the most.
I mean, I can just imagine you're like, okay, let me see what I can do.
Yeah. That changed the energy and she had her baby really fast right after.
Yeah. Just needed to like tap into the tools.
It was amazing.
Lucky people are to have this as an option and a support,
Yeah.
through birth.
And it's just so magical to see. You never know what your path is going to be.
Mhm.
So you're like, all right, I'm gonna walk with you with it.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll get there too. Maybe not.
Yes.
So you're just like, instead of resisting, you're like, surrender.
Okay, we have to show some love to the folks that make this show possible. Today's episode is brought to you by Studio Bonded, the design studio that builds brands that bond with the senses. If you're into thoughtful design made by talented people who really care, then you're in good company. Check them out at studiobonded.com. We're back. Let's rejoin the conversation with our guests. I was thinking about AV Studios in general and the launch of it. And so can you tell me about like the setup of the umbrella company and who is supporting you? Because, a focus of this podcast is about the company that you keep. And
Yeah, good company.
I'm so thankful that you are like the company that I keep. Like, you would never have another first birth. I will never have another first
Hmm.
recording of a podcast. And so I'm so thankful for that. Yeah.
That's where the heart sweater
Oh,
put it.
I love it.
I was
But
like, what am I gonna pull out tonight?
you
I was
know,
like,
and also your blue nails match.
that's my color
Didn't
of
know.
this year. I don't know why, but it is my locked in color.
My gosh, me too.
It is,
I'm just
right?
really feeling it.
And then I bought a computer that's this color. I was like, oh, I'm gonna lock in.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have this computer to really get AV Studios up. You going
For
up?
those of you that are listening, it's like a powder blue. It's not robin's egg. It's not like turned up that high. It's like
Mm,
a powder blue. I've really been into the
so
sky, the
soft.
lightness of it. And so Amanda's nails are latching it, which I realized when you're talking. But
Yeah.
I do want to know about who is like the company that you keep that's supporting you as you're building AV Studios, because as much as we would like to, we can't do this stuff solo dolo.
Yes,
We
great question.
cannot do it solo dolo,
I know.
people.
I'm not gonna lie, it's a heavy lift.
It really is.
I'm like, woo.
Check out the guns.
In my Pisces sun, Libra rising, Pisces moon energy,
Yeah.
I'm always tapped in of like what to do next. And I do believe when something happens, like a door closing, a job ending, whatever that might be, it's not happening to you, but it's happening for you. So I like took my ending into a beautiful space. To really think about, okay, this has been on the back burner for a minute in terms of really launching the other aspects of AV Studios. AV Studios in the last like 3 years has been running mostly on content creation. So lots of like
Okay.
beautiful retreat spaces, brands, different partnerships that I do will ask me to create social media content around yoga, whether it's yoga asana, yoga philosophy, meditation, or even around the work that I do in the perinatal space as like a teacher, but also somebody that's supporting folks in community will have me create content around that, or a
Yeah.
business owner. And in the last year, brands and retreat spaces have had me come out and really share what it's like to be in retreat space. So that's like on the
Mm-mm.
content creation side. Also do some beauty within the well-being spaces. It's usually aligned, like very specific to how I show up. And
Get
that's
kind
like,
of understanding
yeah.
what your brand
Mhm.
is and the brands that connect to.
And I'm always like, oh, is that how people see me? I'm like, okay.
Give an example.
But I mean, okay, so like a influencer event, it's always like a mom event. I'm like, oh, I'm not a mother, but I do support them.
Mm,
So it's like I have to sit with that a little bit. So
yeah.
sometimes it rubs me a good way, sometimes not.
Sure.
I have fun.
Eve-
I have fun over there,
Mm.
but I do get excited when like retreat spaces have me come out, and then it's interesting to see what kind. I'm like, oh, they see me as like soft, whimsy. Like I'm like, okay, these are the words I'm getting.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, let's lean into that. So if any brands that feel like I would be aligned, feel free to reach out.
And for those that are listening, I mean, you are very much soft and whimsical right now. Heart cardigan, a pearl headband, a charm necklace with like, I don't know, constellation stars and moons on it. So they nailed it.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, I guess that's some of the brands that would align, and like foods and things like that. So I really like apothecary brands and
Yeah.
different things like that, and skin brands, like clean brands, foods as well. I'm really big on nutrition. In terms of the other avenues, the doula work, right? So I think
Yeah.
right now for 2026, really thinking about neighboring community-centered orgs that already been on the ground doing this work. Let me help you do some of the heavy lift of what you do, and then really bring some interesting insight, because I think the way I was trained in terms of perinatal care is way different than I would say, a lot of the birth workers here in New York City. But I'm happy to bring some of the indigenous wellness
Oh, I was going to
wisdom.
ask, like, what's the difference? And like, what's the difference in what's happening here versus the way you
Well,
learned?
I'm not gonna knock, how people are trained, but I think it just hits different when you're like on the land and like sitting at the feet of midwives. So I had a beautiful opportunity to study with Samaya Franklin Sumi's Touch in person. So most of
Mm.
my training was online, but in person, literally living on a farm in Cali, Colombia, sitting at the feet
Wow.
of African Colombian midwives.
Mm.
I'm really understanding like how they're doing the work, and then thinking about, okay, like herbalism to traditional body work to traditional Chinese medicine that we're incorporating, honoring the land, actually getting like a midwife blessing in the jungle. Like it just hits different.
Wow.
So then once you see care and the world from that lens and then bringing it back to the city element, it's different, but then like not forgetting it and then weaving in it in every aspect of what you're doing. So the avenue of full spectrum doula work, yes, I do support clients, but I would say that I'm not just doing it transactionally and taking like a ton of birth or postpartum clients. I feel like it's inefficient and not really fair to the people I serve, but it's also a privilege, right? So I'm hoping to keep working with bigger organizations that want to invest in the work that I do. I did a huge pop up with Brooklyn Flow and the brand Nuna, which provide strollers and other family care items. In Nordstrom's, I actually had like a whole floor where I had a yoga studio built out. As free to the community. So things like that, I feel like that really helps me lift some of the other work that I do so I can take on 1 or 2 clients a month to support in birth care rather than like 5 or 10. I think it is deep spiritual work. When you are like chosen to support a life to come into the world, like the baby chooses you. I mean, I could get really, really mystical with the conversation and how the babies communicate to me. Sometimes they communicate to me through dreams. They literally show up. I'm like, hey, yo, why are you in this dream? I'm like, what is this? Sometimes they communicate to me through like imagery or like spirit animals or flowers. They'll just keep appearing. I'm like, take it in. Because you're like, why? What does this mean? But, as somebody that's like tapped in, you could start to like decipher what is storytelling that you're seeing. So that's why I don't support so many clients because it is an energetic and also an ancestral transaction. Yes, we do receive monetary element, but it's mostly energetic.
Yeah, also you only have so much capacity.
Yeah, I'm like,
and to provide that kind
like
of
good care.
support, it needs to be mindful of like
Mm.
how many people that you're taking on. So would you say with AV Studios, obviously you'll continue with full spectrum doula work. You'll continue to do trainings, which I do want to talk to you about the program that you do at NYU, but you'll continue to do that. Do you think that the goal is to try and step out of teaching a lot of different classes and just focus on those two things, or like what is it that you're hoping to do?
Well, the next biggest project will be kicking off the 200-hour yoga teacher training program, and I really pulled in some of the great heavy hitters within the industry. So Joe Murdoch, who we worked together really close for a bigger yoga brand, really reimagining their teacher training into their Y7 Online. Um, she's here with me. We're bringing her back. She's going to be
Nice.
one of my lead teachers. She's also helping me with a little bit of the social media aspect, as she is like a YouTube queen. Her page is amazing. She's really deep into the chakra work, so I'm going to bring her in to lead a lot of our programming, as well as I'll be leading all of it. My husband, Chris, he's also an amazing yoga teacher and educator in the music realm, but also in the yoga and well-being space. He's also a Nike trainer, so he'll be on the ground. He's also very, very strong in tech, so he'll be helping with the teacher training aspect. My teacher trainings
We could have used him
I know.
earlier.
My teacher trainings are hybrid, so not all individuals have the ability or can be in New York City. The program's for adults, right? So we're all working and doing lots of different things. So I was super mindful after running so many different programs for other brands, thinking about what is the best way to optimize this one and really make sure we have connectivity and be able to reach students that are not necessarily always in New York City. We will be on Sundays from 1 to 6 in partnership with another space called Arrive, where I have rented out and we'll be there in person. And the sessions are much longer than how I used to run them. So folks will have a little bit more in-person connectivity. And then Tuesdays are online. And then the rest is asynchronous, where they're following along with the digital content. Some of my other great teachers will be on the staff. Dorian, he'll also be teaching. Dorian Shorts. He's amazing. He actually will bring a new aspect to my trainings that hasn't been spoken about, yoga therapy. So he's been working deep into yoga therapy, trauma-informed work from that lens, but also he's an amazing sequencing king, inversion king.
Inversion, his flight work is
sick.
amazing. Yeah.
So we've worked together in other trainings that I have written, but he'll be coming on for this one. My friend Yulia, who's an amazing Ashtangi, also a flight queen. She'll be coming in.
People that don't know what we're saying when we're saying like
Upside
inversion
down.
or flight, think about handstands, headstand, just anything where you are upside down and also holding a yoga pose of some sort.
Yeah. So she'll be in there. My amazing co-lead towards the end of the brand that I was working for before, Angelica Alonso, she actually graduated the teacher training that I was leading for the last 5 years, and then is my star alumni that became my assistant.
Beautiful.
And then she has a real strong passion for yoga anatomy, as her goal is to be a physical therapist. And she's an amazing philosopher, so she'll be leading Bhagavad Gita and conversation through that and anatomy. Bring her in. We also have Seema from the Johari House in Hardwar, India. So I've worked with her over the last like 10 years, from the Laughing Lotus space to even when I was at Y7 creating my Ayurveda program. But I feel like to uplift and embrace roots, we also have to uplift the indigenous voice of the work. So I do talk about like the diaspora of the yoga space. So it's not just in India, but I do want to name that we will start to have someone actually on the land. So she's gonna be live streaming from India Sanskrit, because yes, I could teach it, but it just hits different when she's giving it.
I'm telling you, I do find that there's such a difference for me personally when you take a class where people are using the Sanskrit names of the asana postures versus
American.
yeah, like the American version, or
With the
like
accent.
people have created their own, asana postures that they've renamed. I do feel like it is respecting the lineage a little bit more when you're hearing the Sanskrit part of it. So I love that you're incorporating that, because I know that that is, yeah, a part of your core tenets too.
And
Amazing.
she'll also be doing this interesting work that she's been doing for a long time. She calls it Litka Japa. So japa meditation is usually like you're chanting with a mala, one mantra at a time. But she has done this as an art project. So I think this will be a really beautiful way that we can practice meditation and mindfulness while doing mantra. So
Beautiful.
they'll be doing art in the program.
Love it.
Social equity and justice will definitely cover. I'll be teaching that, as well as looping in Dorian and the team, Joe, Chris, Angelica, who's have been working on this for a while. And it always shifts, right? So it's going to speak to where we are at 2026 in the well-being space.
Yeah.
We'll also have Business of Yoga, really talking about how we navigated the space from being talent on a really large platform to where we're at now. But that's kind of a snippet of the 200 hour. Of course, it's going to be vinyasa and doing lots of sequencing and stuff like that. I think people think that that's all we're going to do, but we're going to go way deeper. And then also talk about how can you build either an adjacent career, either bolster the one you already have or make this your whole career, but in different ways. Because I'm not going to lie to them. Just teaching in a yoga studio probably is not sustainable. So like, what are some other things that you're really passionate about?
Yeah, life sustaining. You would teach at a yoga studio all day long, but how are you going to pay your bills?
Right. Like,
Really?
how are we going to bring this into other aspects of building out your career, whether it's corporate wellness, whether it's partnering with community organizations, getting grants to, retreats, different things like that. So really give them all of the tools they need, or if they want to be a content creator, what does that look like? Or like weaving all of them, which I think is the most fun, but not everyone has the bandwidth for that.
Yeah.
And so that's the next program. And then looking forward to the end of 2026, leading continuing education program, which will be open to alumni, folks who want to dive a little deeper, early thinking about maybe having that study abroad. Yet again, it is a heavy lift. So it is a huge investment for me.
But
Amanda. I feel like this is what people have been asking for.
Yep.
Instead of just going to a yoga retreat, we'll be out. I'm not going to name the space yet until I
stay tuned. We'll
drop it.
Yeah, we'll drop it for you.
You'll have an opportunity to get 100 hours towards your 300 hour living in a study abroad space, and also pouring back into the community. So there'll be a seva or community work while we're there, which I'm thinking we'll be working with animals and puppies, some dogs, and
we love dogs.
Yeah.
Amanda loves cats too.
And also working in the women's village. So more to come on that.
I love it. We were talking about courage in this space in general when you're trying to act out something that you think is supposed to be a part of your life. And I know that that's happening with me with this podcast.
Big
and just
deal.
Connecting with people. I would love to hear some of the not so bright and shiny stuff, that internal dialogue that you have to overcome to actually put it out in the world, because I think everyone has that, and sometimes hearing it from other people makes it just not so scary,
Yeah, I think you have to work in small bites. I mean, I have a very big imagination and big view. And sometimes that can feel overwhelming. Well, I can like forge forward, lock in. All of holiday break, I was like on it, on it, on it, built a whole platform, the book, everything, put it all up. But then you get these places where you crash out.
Yeah.
The crash out.
Powering down.
Yeah. So sometimes I get like energetically depleted where it feels like I just can't. So that might look like, yeah, just resting at home, having a cry down underneath the blanket.
Yes, I love to cry. I really do.
Looking at my bank account, I'm like, can I? The thing is, people don't, I'm sure you know, but you don't know. But like, yeah, to run a yoga program or anything of scale, I don't have investors. I don't have any of this. So it's like, wow, like, how can I make
Yet.
this all? Yeah.
You don't have
Yeah.
investors
Yeah.
yet.
So like how to get these programs lifted. So even to run a trading abroad, it's like as much as running a wedding. So it's like, how are we going to figure it out? But there's always a way. So every tuition that someone pays, every class that you take, it like goes towards the program. So
Yeah, the bigger
yeah.
vision.
Yeah, and making it accessible as possible. So that is always, a little overwhelming, but once I get over it, I, listen to my intuition. I'm like, okay, we're going to start with this. So that was like the 200-hour program. Now it's the continuing education. I'm just making sure it feels aligned. Unfortunately, the world is volatile, so I'm trying to like really watch what's happening politically and then where we could travel, things like that. So making sure that's all locked in and safe, and I'm sure it will be. Yeah, and then thinking about like where can I offload some of my work, which is going to be probably the biggest project for the next year. So making sure I have people that are like on board and work as fast as I do. Because
Love
that's
it.
a big thing. Not to be shady, but sometimes people just don't write back on the emails or like and
Facts.
things unfortunately have to move quick. Like brands are like reaching out. And if I don't say yes and like have everything in place, then literally they move on. So I need a team that's gonna move and rock with me and that vibration.
Yes. So one, let yourself feel the feels. It's
Cry in the
okay.
blanket.
It's like work really hard, rest really hard too, cry really hard.
Yeah.
I don't even get me started. Love to cry. It's an emotional regulator,
Yeah.
you know?
I'm like,
But then
"Oh."
also surround yourself with the
People are
people
moving.
that are on the same page. And I could not agree more. When you know that the people that are around you, they've got you, they can support you, they can lean in when
Mhm.
you're asking for it and respond at that same pace. It's such a big deal because nobody wants to be dragging people
Mm-mm.
along. I mean, it's hard enough to ask for help for me. I don't
Mhm.
know about you, but it's hard enough to ask for help. But then when you're like pulling someone over
But
the
it's a lot
finish
of work,
line, you're
isn't
just
it?
like, oh my
That I
gosh, but
just
you
did it
have
myself.
to. I hope the right people, you're continuously like surrounded with the right people. Maybe some people that are listening, they're like, I like that vibe. I feel like I could offer something. Maybe they will lean into that too. So let's talk
Ah.
about NYU for a second because I do think that this is like an interesting position. So will you tell people about what you offer at NYU?
Yeah, I love it there. Such a great benefit and privilege to hold space there. So they have the Global Spiritual Life department. The former director, Melissa Carter, found me and looped me in. She was actually
Was she a student of yours or like how did she
no,
find
she's like
you?
the director of the program. Very, very high educated, amazing spirit woman and meditation teacher and philosopher herself. I also
Beautiful.
supported her birth. I mean, we go
Oh
deep.
wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
She found me through Kendra, who
Okay.
owns Herbal Scoop.
I don't know that.
She was from Lotus, but it's kind of hard to get hired. Not gonna lie,
Yeah.
at the university level. But they offer beautiful connectivity programming for students, faculty, anyone affiliated with NYU. So we offer free classes every day, Monday through Saturday, all day. Yoga, meditation, different movement offerings, but also they have spirit offerings too. So this department is in conjunction with the other religious organizations on campus, and then we have non-religious organizations and programming like the yoga program. And I teach a class, and I essentially curate what that's going to be every year, every semester.
Mm.
So we have the vinyasa element, so that's a nice drop-in class that folks can take on Fridays in the afternoon. And then I have a mindfulness course, and they call it contemplative course. So I reimagine what that's going to be every year and every semester, and it usually runs 8 or 10 weeks. I feel like this is going to be 10 weeks, and then essentially thinking about mindfulness practice, not just like sitting and doing meditation, but every aspect. That's how I teach it. And it's transformed many different times over these last years since I've been there.
Yeah.
So I think this year I'm going to do for this semester um, a mindfulness course that helps folks to be able to either facilitate meditation for themselves or mindfulness. A lot of our young professionals that are taking the class are in many different aspects, whether they're
Yeah.
in business, tech, some are directors. I mean, every aspect of the school people can come and take. So like we're going to bring this mindfulness into your regular day
I love it.
and your career. And then incorporating some Ayurveda. So I think this semester we'll dive into more tactile things
Yeah.
and nutrition.
Ayurveda, the sister science to yoga, about getting you back to your most harmonious state, like when you were born. I think that yoga in the corporate space is so amazing. I also offered it when I was working at a corporation. And I feel like everyone can use the tool meditation, mindfulness, stillness, because the world is wild right now. I don't care where you stand on any of it, but we're like existing in a world that's like very fast moving, very chaotic. There's not a lot of time for connection to yourself, to the people around you. And so it's beautiful that you offer that. If you're in New York and you're an NYU person, you should definitely check it out. But
It's free.
it's free. Yeah, it's amazing. But okay, so you have to tell people where they can find you. Give me your handles. So you could just hit me with all your handles.
Okay, so my main big page is at Amanda Gloria Yoga on Instagram. Yes, I have a TikTok. I'm not thriving on the talk. I really love the IG.
Me too.
TikTok will get there.
like
I
my
probably
heyday.
need a young one to like help me build that out. I feel like mentally my bandwidth is not there. I feel like I will need to hire social media brand support for that. So if you want to pitch yourself, feel free to pitch.
Love it.
Because I feel like I would want to tell a different story over there. The page is alive, same handle. And then for AV Studios, it's at AV Studios _ NYC. And then you can find everything about the courses and then the community work that I do. I do cross-brand it. And then in terms of the teacher trainings, it's on Teachable. So AV Studios Gratitude Village is the branded name for the training. So you can find it there.
Love it. Okay, so a part of this podcast is to try and get people a little bit more connected, and let's see if we can help each other. So I have a series of questions that I want to ask you. And then I'll ask everyone that joins the podcast. So, who are you and what do you do?
I am Amanda Gloria Valdes. I use she, her pronouns. Am a woman of many different hats. I am a yoga, meditation, Pilates global educator, full spectrum doula, actor, director, and educator in the art space.
Okay. For anyone who's out there that's listening, what do you need? What are the areas of support that you need that if somebody's listening and they're like, I like her vibe, I'm trying to lean in, what do you need?
I am in need of support of reimagining how I offer education in the yoga well-being space. So if any brands or any physical spaces that want to partner or work with me in a bigger capacity in terms of the full spectrum doula space, I think keep working with other orgs to really support each other. I think working together, feel free to drop in and lock in.
We love it. Okay. And then last, what do you have to offer?
What do I have to offer? I believe that my offerings really come from a genuine alchemist space through the lens of well-being. So the umbrella of how I share and storytell, whether it's through branding and media, full spectrum birth work. So whether it's supporting an individual or family or organization, I really envision myself doing that. Yoga and meditation education, that is my girl. So we're going to keep lifting her up. So that's what I do. That's what I offer.
I am so impressed from when I was living in New York and what you were doing to now. You have allowed yourself to open up to all the things that you love, but you're doing it in a way where it feels very focused, very authentic, and connected to the communities that don't have access to well-being care. I'm so proud of you. And
thank you. Thanks for having me on. I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
Look at this podcast. We're in good company.
Yeah, we are.
Support Davinia, y'all. Get with it. Listen to the episodes.
Listen to the episodes.
Is the sound in the back going to be bad?
I don't know. We'll
see. All right.
As a part of this podcast, we want to celebrate the company that you keep and show this growing web of connection and how we can be friends of people. And so I would love for you to introduce me to the next person that's going to be a guest on the podcast.
All right.
Cool.
I would love to introduce Davinia Roberts, where Christopher Stanley will be amazing guest on here, and also my husband.
Cute. Okay. I love it. I can't wait to have Chris on. Musician, bogey, just all around amazing. Okay. And for the next person, Dylan is an artist and filmmaking space, and he's also a head chef at a local restaurant named Chino Grande in Brooklyn, baby. Awesome. Thanks, Amanda. Okay, cool.
That went good.
We did
Good job.
Thank you for joining us for this week's episode of In Good Company, a podcast where we celebrate the beauty of connection and the magic of word of mouth. In Good Company is brought to life by my pod squad. That's Danielle Dweck, copy and creative consultant, Fukiko Machado, financial operations, Alex Perez, design lead from Studio Bonded, Kyle Murdoch, mix and sound design, and me, the creator and host, Davinia Roberts. The views shared by our guests are their own and are offered as inspiration and information only. To stay connected, follow and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, and maybe share this episode with someone you love. It helps more good people find us. For full episodes and behind-the-scenes moments, find us on YouTube and Instagram at ingoodcompany.thepod or visit ingoodcompanythepod.com. Until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and remember, if you're here, you're in good company.